Hi, this will be our part one of an Explain Everything tutorial. I'm going to break this into three parts. One part here we'll talk about the app's setup features and its settings more or less. A second video will look at all of the tools involved in the canvas and different techniques to create your Explain Everything projects. And then a third we'll talk about exporting, sharing, and sort of integrating finished products and Explain Everything with other apps or other presentation tools or whatever else you might want to do. So to begin, we'll launch the app. I have it on the left side of my screen here. And when I launch Explain Everything, this is my menu screen. Now, any projects I have saved here would be viewed in thumbnail. I only have the one in here, just I want to clean it up a little. But we'll notice the top menu bar where I get some options here. The top left corner, the plus icon, if I wanted to start a blank presentation, I can do so in one of four templates, right? And you can see white background, black background, green background, and then a different white background. The three stripes, vertical stripes you see there, are the default pen colors, though they can be changed in any of these. You can write in any color you wish, but they give you sort of a default. In the first one, they give you a default of black, red, and blue, as you can see. So if you want to start a blank presentation, start with a completely blank screen, you can do so here. Um, or you can start a project from some previously worked upon file or image. If you tap, that's the icon that has sort of it looks like a sheet of paper with a plus icon. Now, you can notice, first of all, that down at the bottom of this window that's come up, I can access my camera roll. I can access different cloud services. I can access iTunes, um, even more than they can fit there. I can access a lot of different things, and that's one of the wonderful things about Explain Everything. It plays so nicely with other formats. Explain Everything can load in Word files, PowerPoint files, Keynote files, PDF documents, and just about any image format that you can think of: JPEGs, PNGs, um, Photoshop documents, TIFFs, things like that. It can also work with audio files. It can display and play movies, and it can load in web browsers, and you can actually bring in a website to talk about a website in a presentation or use some kind of web content. So it really is incredibly versatile in the things you can bring into this. In fact, if you're familiar with other whiteboard and screencasting apps like Educreations or Show Me, um, Explain Everything does all those things, but it incorporates so many more sources, and it has way more in the way of tools and options. So Explain Everything is a more fully featured interactive whiteboard app, presentation app, screencasting app than those other ones I mentioned. So I like it a lot for that reason. So if I wanted to load up a project, let's say for my Google Drive, I can go to Google Drive, and this is the main folder of my drive, which will load up. And I can scan through my drive just as I would in Google Drive itself. And you can see that it's showing me things I could load up, some Word documents, some PDFs. I can go, let me go back into here. And I'll go into a folder, and then it'll open up that folder so I can manipulate my entire drive contents this way. And you can see I have a lot of PowerPoints in this folder. So I can do a lot of that. Right? I am content with what I have here. Now, if I wanted to, I could select a file to export. That's the next icon that I've just tapped, and you can see it's turned blue. If I want to export this project, you can see that it gives me the export options. I'm going to talk about export options a little later, but I could take the project and make it into a movie that could save on my iPad locally in my camera roll. I could export it to my YouTube channel, and it will handle the conversion for me very nicely. And in a few minutes, or depending on how long my presentation is, I'll have this video fully uploaded to YouTube. Or you can see the icon with the Evernote icon, the Google Drive icon, the WebDAV, the Dropbox icon. I can upload to a cloud service, and you can see I have these options. I can export my project as a video file, as a PDF, as an image, or, and this part is really cool, I can keep it as a project. In other words, I can keep it in editable form, and I could share it with somebody else, and then they could actually work on my presentation. And if you can imagine with students, um, assigning like a group project, and you want them to do and explain everything, or one of the options is to do and explain everything, one student could work on a couple of slides and then share the project file with another student, who then in turn contributes his or her slides or images or movie file or whatever, and then it gets passed around, and they can work, sort of asynchronously. They can work at different times on a project together, and then the finished product can be um, exported and shared to you, rather than everyone kind of finding a way to put the pieces together. Explain Everything can do that, working across different iPads. So that's how we would export. And again, you have the same options down at the bottom to export to the camera roll, to export to iTunes, Dropbox, Google Drive, Evernote, all that kind of good stuff. Right? And then the other options you have, you can see there. Right? So lot of features. Now again, carrying around along the top, on the right hand side now you have the settings icon, the gear, and we'll talk about these for just a moment. For drawing style, this is sort of an arbitrary choice, whether what kind of style the writing goes into, how the line sort of tapers or doesn't taper. But then you get some things that are important. If you were going to import PDFs, or PowerPoints or keynotes into your Explain Everything canvas, you probably want to divide them into pages or into two different slides. So in other words, if I wanted to annotate and Explain Everything, a multi-page PDF, I would probably want that broken into different pages for me, so that I could work one page at a time and explain them to my students. Similarly, if I had a PowerPoint presentation, I'd want to preserve the number of slides I have, and I'd want to annotate and speak over each slide. So you'll want to have these settings on, I imagine. The next couple of settings, Adonit, Jot, Pogo Connect, the iPen, and the wrist guard, those refer to specific types of stylus that you can, or specific type of stylus you can use with Explain Everything. I don't have any of those. I use a $2 stylus that I like. So I don't know how good or not good those settings are, but it's kind of neat they have them, I guess. Um, and then, down the bottom here, toolbar, left or right. I am left-handed. So when the app first came to me, the toolbar was on the left-hand side, the toolbar on the main canvas, which I'll see in another video. And I kept accidentally activating different tools with my palm or with the side of my hand when I was writing. So I moved the toolbar over to the right. But you can decide that for yourself here. Next tab in the settings is the export settings. Most of the time that you haven't explained everything, you're probably going to want to output it as a video. So here you can control the quality of the video that you export. I go 1024 by 768 because, I guess with the Retina screen, it's probably higher than that, but I think of that as iPad resolution, and when you're working in Keynote or iBooks or other iPad apps, that's usually the resolution, so I figure that's good enough for me. You could go down in resolution to save on file size. You could go up in resolution to have more impressive looking videos. Entirely up to you. You can choose the quality. Again, the higher the quality, the larger the file size. Compress movies as. The difference between MOV and MP4 is really what you intend on doing with it, but if most of your stuff is going to be web-based, MP4 is great. And you can see these other things you really don't need to mess with. You definitely want to have audio export on when you're working Explain Everything, because a lot of times, one of the key facets of this app is your voice and your ability to explain things verbally as you're annotating or as you're typing, whatever it might be. So we'll look at those. Now the Record tab, right? If you are accessing the camera in the app, you can set the resolution. Again, I just kind of stick in the middle there. There is an ability to mute the mic in the app. Maybe if you're working on a presentation and you don't want to, you want to record what you're writing, but you don't want to record what's going on in terms of sound, because maybe you're in a noisy room. You can show that mic mute button, which is good. Also, it says there, mute mic while playing an inserted video. You can put a video into your canvas and explain everything, and you can choose here whether you'd want to have the audio associated with that video in there. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to show a scene from a movie and annotate it, in which case you probably want the audio. But maybe you want to speak over the video playing and you don't want that audio to distract you. Again, that's up to you. Now, accounts, again, this is where you're going to link up, explain everything with your cloud services. I right now only have this link with my Google Drive and my YouTube account, meaning I can access files from my Google Drive. I can also write files to my Google Drive, and I can upload videos to my YouTube account. Whatever your web services are, whatever web services you want to use, you can do that. And that's on that tab there for accounts. All right. Lastly, information. There are a lot of videos on the internet about Explain Everything, and there's links to them here. And there's an iBook guide even available, which is very nice and very helpful. So a lot going on this one main screen for you to look at with Explain Everything. When we come back in the next one, we'll talk about all the tools in the canvas and get going with creating our projects.